So in addition to being the person responsible for starting me on this track, you were also the person, and I know you'll never admit it because you're too humble, that turned me on to the Arbinger material. Yeah. And so we were both kind of involved with the group and able to participate in the video project, but really institute that at the time. It was very groundbreaking. Arbinger's message is always see people as people, taking accountability for what you own, and understanding something that I talk about, the iceberg theory. So just because you see a piece from someone that may be negative or you feel like it's toward you, that's what you see on the surface. We got all this other stuff going on down here, right, which is what sank the Titanic, so it's powerful. So first and foremost, thank you for turning me on to that, because that material truly has been life-changing for me. And just this week, I was able to teach it to a group of 19 young professionals, and it went really well. And it's good stuff that they pick up. And so we've had a great relationship too with our friends there, Jack Caldwell and Chip Huth, and I still get to talk to them from time to time. For you, what has that material meant? What have you been able to grasp out of it and really run with over the years?
Well, I mean, first of all, you have a much greater grasp of the material than I ever could, and you're teaching it now, and so you should be proud of that, and you should be proud of yourself for what you've done, and I'm happy to have played a small part in where you're at, but I don't deserve any of that credit. But some of the things that, from specific to Arbinger, that stick with me, one, as you mentioned, is treating people as people and not objects. And I've used that description multiple times in talking to our officers, because our officers can sometimes get wrapped up in, these folks are a problem.
Sure.
And I'm a problem solver, and if I'm going to get to my next radio run, or I'm going to get to lunch, I've got to solve this problem. And they could come in a little hot, and see that person or issue as an object and getting on with their day.
Obstacle. Standing in the way for that,
they're there, I need to get to whatever I need to get to, so I'm going to, one, possibly be rude, or use force you don't need to use, and things like that, because you don't see them as a person.
Sure.
A person who has the same hopes, desires, wants, needs that you do, they're just having a bad day.
Yeah, like we all do, right?
Like everybody. I mean, and unfortunately for officers, they encounter people time and time again in their job that are having a bad day.
So that becomes their frame of reference.
Maybe the worst day of their life. And so if you work in an area where you're constantly dealing with the same individuals, the same problems, you start to see them as something other than people.
Sure.
People whose experiences or circumstances led them to where they are, or decisions that they made, one way or the other, that led them to where they are. And so we talk a lot about our people, about customer service, and no matter where that person finds themselves, or where you find yourselves in interacting with them, you have to treat them as a human being. And you can take someone to jail, remove their freedom, and still treat them as a human being.
Sure.
You can use force, because unfortunately in our job sometimes people don't want to lose their freedom. And so there's a necessity.
A little resistant.
A little resistant sometimes, every now and then. But you can do it, stop, treat them as a human being, flip them up. If you make a mistake, it's okay to say, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have stopped you. You're not the person I was looking for. Dust them off and move on. Treating them as a person. That goes throughout life, right? I mean, we see that right now with a lot of things in society, is that everybody's an obstacle to somebody else. And so our way to deal with it is to dog them out on social media, or distance ourselves from them because they have a different political view of us, because we don't see them as another person. We see them as an object of accomplishing whatever it is I want to accomplish, or whatever my opinion is. One of the other things is being in the box with somebody, right? And that conflict that exists in everyday life. One of the stories from the book that sticks with me a lot is you have a screaming baby in the middle of the night,
which we've all had,
and you're 3 times, and your wife and you are laying in the bed. You're both awake. You hear the baby crying, but if you lay there long
enough, standoff, right?
It's like, who's going to get up and take care of that baby? And you start justifying your opinions of things. Well, I worked all day. I had a long day.
Building that list, right?
Just of why you're
building
a better person.
List,
than the person laying next to your partner, and why that person should get up and go take care of the baby so you can sleep.
But really, though, how much more time are you spending building that list than would it have taken to go up, take care of the child, go back to sleep, right?
And then you start thinking about those things where either yourself or people that you've managed or that you work with, that no matter where they go in the department, there's conflict.
Yeah.
And it's a similar conflict, and you have a conversation with the person, and there's no culpability on them. It's always someone else. It's that person. Well, sometimes if it's repeated over and over again, maybe it's you.
Yeah.
But you have to recognize that.
Sure.
You have to recognize that there's going to be conflict. There's going to recognize people, and recognize where you're in the box in that person, and step out of it. Because if you're both in there, then you're never going to accomplish what the goal is.
Yeah, Bill Westphal talks about, and I utilize a lot in foundations. You only control what you can control, and that's ourselves.
That is a good one. That is one that I have to remind myself multiple times a day, especially in my job.
Yeah.
And I've tried to remind our officers. Our officers get really wound up, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, about what they perceive the prosecutor or courts do or don't do.
Yeah.
And so what they use that is sometimes as an excuse not to do their job.
Right.
And Bill Belichick, coach New England Patriots for a long time, says do your job. If you're the running back, do your job. If you're an offensive right tackle, do your job. If you're left tackle, do your job. If you're defensive back, do your job.
Sure.
And if everybody does their job, then the team succeeds.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to tell our cops is that you have to do your job the best you can do. You have to control yourself. Even in your own person, your persona, your person, your body, there's very little you can control.
Yeah.
You can't control what's happening on the inside, whether you're going to get sick, whether you're not going to get sick. Really, it comes down to how you react to things.
It's management. Yeah. Awareness and management.
How you manage your emotions. That's why I said for me, it's sometimes minute by minute. Hey, you can't control that. Hey, you can't control that. So my message to them is do your job the best you can do. Don't give whatever part of the system follows next an excuse not to do theirs. Because if you do a bad case report or a bad investigation and try to hand it over to a prosecutor, and they go, what am I going to do with this? I can't charge anybody with this.
Yeah.
Or they do charge it and you go to court and you're not prepared and the jury or judge doesn't find them guilty. Well, you haven't done your job. So it doesn't matter what the prosecutor does or doesn't do. It doesn't matter what the jury or judges do or don't do because you haven't done your job. Control what you can control will make, if you can, it's not like you plant a flag and you realize it and then it's done.
Yeah.
Like it's situational, it's, but you'll be so much happier in your life if you could focus on those things that you can control.
One of the things that I've seen, we both have 15-year-old daughters. They're both very competitive in athletics. Yeah. Yours volleyball, mine softball. Yeah. And so I'm sure you've seen this as well. Up till this year, she had some knee problems. Mine was a catcher. And so, she's kind of the commander of the plate, if you will. And when things didn't go right in the field, she would get all spun up and frustrated. And what we would notice is then, everyone else made a mistake. She's angry about that. Then what'd she start doing, do you think?
Blaming everybody else.
But then she's so focused on the blame that she starts making mistakes, right? Which she can control. And so that concept alone, I'm sure you've seen it in volleyball and just parenting in general, right? And leadership is so important to us. And it's so hard to do, though, because many times we'll slip and we'll fall down those rabbit holes. And it's just a constant, I feel like, constant practice, constant reps at reminding yourself and doing that. And, every time you fail, not getting frustrated because perfection doesn't exist, but just having the awareness to say, okay, I navigated outside of the cone, I realize that, I'm going to navigate myself back in the cone and prepare better for the next time.
It's resilience, which is important to success. I mean, you're going to fail, but if you're dwelling on your failure in the past, one, you're not in the present, and you can't be better in the future. And that you're exactly right. What I noticed in my daughter, and I've repeatedly said this to her, and it's easier said than done to a 15-year-old mind who I don't even remember being 15. and I wasn't a 15-year-old girl, which it's a different experience.
Yeah.
And so they always can't wrap their mind around it. With her specifically, she does not have a poker face, and I don't have any idea where she gets that from. But I can tell when she's upset. She she doesn't pass the ball right. Whatever it is in the game, but then that starts to control her, and she's living in the past.
Yeah.
And she's not present.
Yeah, kind of obsessing.
And makes the same mistake again and again and again. And my thought to her is like, the coach is seeing that.
Yeah.
The coach needs you to be on to the next play. And it's a constant reminder to her, hey, next play, next play, next play. And that's what you tell yourself. Hey, you made a mistake. You went the wrong direction. Next play.
Right.
Move on. Control what you can control. And that's how you react to things.
Well, and that happens so much in the workplace too, right?
Yeah.
We make a mistake, we feel embarrassed, we knew better, but we just slipped and fumbled. But then if we stuck there, we're going to make more and more because we're obsessed, we're thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when your phone is stuck and it's just spinning, and it's not computing anything. That's how our brains get, I feel like, in those types of situations.
And it's not easy. It's not. You have to remind yourself all the time. Like I said, it's. You can read all the books you want. I was just having this discussion with a couple people on my team. Is like, oh man, I've been to all these classes. I've heard all these leaders. I've read these books. I've listened to these audiobooks. And yet I still find myself doing those things.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The difference now from where I am today than 2009 and 2010 is I recognize it.
Yes, 100%.
I recognize it, and I know how to change course. I know how to be better. I know what I need to do. And this is life it's never done. Like, you're learning, being better it's a continuous journey. And so that's when it goes back to 2010 and that Leadership Academy of always learn, always listen, try to be better tomorrow.
Yeah, and I said the exact same thing this week to the group that I had in the class. After 13 years of being engrossed in this material, I still mess it up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to still mess it up. But the difference is, me and the 40-something guy, from the 20-something guys, the 20-something guy didn't care. The 40-something guy says, uh-oh, I made a mistake. I recognize it. Now I'm going to fix it. So take accountability, offer an apology, offer us a resolution so it doesn't happen again. And I called that removing the need for blame. Right? So if I do something to you and you're angry at me and I tell you I take accountability for it, I apologize to you, and I tell you what I'm going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again, then you can be mad at me, but when you're back in rational brain, the percentage of chance that's going to happen can become lower and lower and lower. Yeah. Because what else can I do? Right, at that point in time.
Yeah, no, you're right. Thinking about circumstances where, I've had conversations with people that, one, I thought, respected me, that I respected. Yeah. And then, decisions made, and then you get an emotional reaction from them that you didn't expect. Sure. And then when you dig deeper into that, you find out that they've been holding on to something that happened 6, 7, 8 years ago. Yeah. That's that iceberg, right? Right. Yeah. That if they had that conversation with you, I could have said, look, I'm sorry, or explained myself, or provided a different perspective. It may have helped them. I had no idea they were holding on to that, and I hate that they were holding on to that for so long. So what I'm saying is, don't hold on to that. Have those conversations. Be able to get that out of your system, and if the person's not open to it, at least you've tried and you can feel better and you still move on, because you're holding all that anger and all that. You're letting me control you. Yeah. And you didn't even know. And you didn't even know. So how can you solve a problem you don't know about, right? I'm going on with my life down the road, and you're holding all of this that's making you, like sometimes when he was looking at me, he probably was growing angry on it. Sure. I was controlling him, and I didn't know I was controlling him. And I hate it for him because I respect the heck out of that guy. Yeah. And I wish we just had that conversation several years ago so that I could have apologized. Resolved and moved on. You're right. That's not the way I should have handled that particular situation. I apologize, and what can we do to move forward, because I respect him. Sure.